So this video is just about me fitting my rear Wilbers shock. It's not a masterclass. It's not a masterclass in fitting a rear shock. It's just me fitting it with some regular tools because I was too tight to pay a dealer to do it. Yeah, the old shock didn't want to come off, but I got there in the end. Right, this rear shock. I've got to take that bodywork off, side and the back. That's a 5-minute job. Battery off and battery box. And then let's have a look and see what how I can get to the shock then. Right, that's the bodywork removed. So now I've got to remove this battery box. So looks like some sort of Torx head nut in the bottom, 2 from the side going through from the airbox inlets, and this is my remote preload adjuster for the rear shock. So that's going to have to come adrift somehow. I might have to lift the tent to get to that, to get that out of the way, to disconnect that. Let's see. Well, I have to remove the whole air inlet to get this battery box out, because it's too wide than the frame, but I have to take the airbox inlet out to tilt it to get it out the top. So, cool. I might as well take it out the other side as well, just because it's so easy to do. Now, Haynes wants you to take this entire battery box out of the way, but I'm not too sure that I have to. I can get to the top nut there. Here's my damping adjustment. I just need to see how I can get that preload adjuster off. So I don't think I will take the battery box off just for now. Maybe I will, who knows. Yeah, just looking around the other side, I actually think I will see if I can remove that battery box, which I'll tell you why. When I go to do the sag settings on this, I don't need the bike powered up or anything. It might just allow me to get to this shock a little bit easier. If it comes off easy, I'll take it off. Right, buried in the bottom of there is that Torx screw or nut. No, screw, yeah. I'm struggling to get it out. It's quite tight. It's probably fairly rotted in there with the battery acid and stuff like that. So I'll see if I can proceed without getting that out for now. Should be good, should be good. So that's my preload adjuster going up to the top there. So I just need to release that. Oh yeah, 2 little nuts here and here underneath this relay. And that relay's held on with a little screw there. So I might be able to get to these nuts. Let's see. So, 2 little 10mm bolts under there. Just release that. by the looks of it. Yeah. Tiny. One of these, it's handy for the flexible head to get that bolt out. Job done. Right, that's the remote preload loosened off. Right, that's all one piece. So I'll have to see if I can thread that down. Right, I got that out. So, here's my remote preload. Just had to get it past that wiring. Now we've got free access to that top bolt. So, and I think when my shock's on, I'm going to get reasonable access to the preload collar on the new shock. Right, I'm going to screw that relay back in now. So it's another little screw I don't lose, because I'm not going to be putting this preload adjuster back on here, so I don't need to get access anymore. Just saves me losing another screw. So that's that back in. Good. That's my start solenoid here. That's new, £25, very cheap. Right, what next? You can actually see I had my remote preload set up at 80% of preload there, 4 out of 5, and I was still getting massive sag on the back. So that just shows I'm a fat bastard. In the end I decided I wanted to get that airbox out the way, so I persevered with that. Screw at the bottom. Still a bit tight. It just gives me better visibility all around. There. Cool. I can give that a wash. Excellent. Loads of visibility, loads of access. Easy to get that top nut. And what about the bottom? Light, please. So the tube there's my airbox drain with its plug. So it looks like this one. The rear. Geez, that shock's had better days. Seen better days. Right, let's see. What order I need to take these off in. Aha, look what I spotted this end. I haven't taken my damping knob off yet. That's next. Easy enough. Oops. Easy enough for two hands. Right. That bracket is welded on, so it can stay there. That's our damping adjuster. Well, thing that thought it was adjusting the damping, but really wasn't doing much at all. There's probably no oil left in this thing. I really should have a bike stand really to do this work. But for a one-off job, it really isn't worth splashing out 300-400 euros on a bike stand just for one suspension change. I changed the shock on my Africa Twin, easy enough here. So that rear wheel's looking a bit high, so I just want to take that a little bit close to the ground. So I'm going to take some of these mats out. that I used to bump up the bike in the first place to get the forks back on. So I just put some spaces under the back wheel there. So when I loosen that top nut on the shock, I'm just protecting my fingers and stuff so the back wheel doesn't drop down. No special tools. H8 Allen head. This side. And just a 17mm socket with a bit of an extension that side. Easy peasy. No, it wasn't done up very hard. Easy to undo. Cool. Right, I've got to loosen these clamp bolts here and here, but leave them in, and then take this spindle nut off, and then take the top nut and bolt completely off. So a little 10mm. Let's get a better view of that. So just slacken off this little 10mm. But leave it in place, as I say. That's that. Then take this off. I think that'll have to be a good old adjustable. I've probably got a socket somewhere, but let's see if this will do the job. Easy, easy peasy. Nice. Don't see many linkages with grease nipples anymore, do you? Saves an awful lot of grief. Saves an awful lot of grease, I was going to say, was I? No, grief. Okay, we'll leave that in for now. We're going to completely loosen the top bolt and take it completely out and take the pressure off this. Cool, there's no pressure on that because I have the back wheel supported with some blocks of mats and stuff underneath. That's the top linkage, clean and dry. So now I need to lower that rear wheel to get this out of here. Wow, that was incredibly tight. It still is. Gotcha. I just take out some of this padding in the back wheel and it will drop the shock. I'm going to have to use two hands for this, but you can see shock's on its way out. Yeah, shock's nice and loose. Just need to pull that pivot out then. A lot of you know that cap that was on the end of there has a grease nipple on. For the suspension linkage, so you don't have to remove the whole thing every time you want to grease those up. But hands up, all those who didn't know that there's another access point here with another grease nipple there, the linkage at the top. So I wouldn't be surprised if that cap has never been off this bike. I can imagine a lot of dealers not even knowing it was there. But anyway, another grease nipple, top of the suspension linkage. So I just cleaned that up a bit there, underneath there. So I need to drive this or withdraw this shaft here. It's proving quite difficult to move. Everything's free and I can lift the back wheel and move the back wheel. I'm struggling to get this pin out. So I've definitely got plenty of space. There's nothing nipping it up there, top or either end. So a little bit more perseverance. I need to somehow drift that through. Let's see how I get on. Right, well I have to get some heat because I can't get this spindle out here. I've been trying for about an hour now. One end of this spindle is shouldered and the original Triumph manual shows the shouldered end on the left. So I'm trying to drift it out from the right hand side here in, but I can't get this to budge a millimeter, not even a millimeter. So my rear shock change has come to a grinding halt. I will have to get some heat on it, I think. Right, before we go down the heat route, bye-bye camping mallet. Hello, lump hammer. Jesus, this thing doesn't want to budge. Well, I'm back to drastic measures now. I cannot budge this. I cannot budge it. In the Haynes manual, it shows it as being shouldered on the left-hand end, as if it goes out that way. I can't move it a millimeter. Yet the linkage all moves, so I don't know which part it's stuck on, so I'm gonna have to try for a bit of heat. Well, I'm just hoping to, I don't know, crack something, dislodge something. I'm an hour and a half into this now. Okay, the heat worked. 2 hours since I started taking this out. So, two hours, wow. That's taken some doing. You can see it coming out this side. I mean, it doesn't, you know, for what's sticking out at the moment, it doesn't look like in terrible condition. And there's no shoulder I can see yet. But that it only goes in and out one way, if you know what I mean. But here, we're getting there. So if you're anyway not inclined to be lying on your back, because I don't have a stand, take it to a dealer if you can't get that pin out. Mind you, when you've done all the rest of the stuff, you probably wouldn't. So I'll get the rest of that out now. Once you start drifting it through, you can actually drift it through with a 1/2 inch extension. Just be careful, because in the actual linkage itself there are roller bearings. You can actually feel them there. So just make sure you're not damaging those when you're drifting that through. You can just see them there, look. Right, I've got the pin far enough out and I've released the bottom of that shock. It's a bit tight for space. I know I'm gonna have to lift the wheel a bit. But you know what I'll do is I'll just take this bracket off here as well. It just gives me, it's just getting in the way a little bit. Right, so that's the two legs off. The bearings are in good condition. They don't need replacing. There's nothing gritty or bad about those. They're fine. So I just have to wrestle this shock out, which is proven a bit tricky, so I think I'm going to have to move this rear wheel up and down a bit and try and coax it all out and see how I can get this out. So what was that? I think eventually that was me taking 2.5 hours to get this out, and there's me thinking there was a shoulder on it, because it looks like it in the Haynes manual, but maybe it was off one of the other models. There's no shoulder. I could have taken it out either way, but I'll clean that up. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks a bit rough, but it's actually quite smooth. So we'll keep that. There's the holes for the grease to come out of. So I just lifted the back wheel with my leg, and that gave me a bit more room, and I managed to drop out the shock. So there's my 1995 rear shock, which I don't think is doing that much these days. But I remember when the bike was new, I thought it was perfectly fine. But people are telling me they're not rebuildable, but then other people are saying you find someone to rebuild them. I just don't think it's worth it. So, on with the Wilbers. When I get my knee out. Oh yeah. That came in very handy. So a long 1/2 inch extension. It was a perfect, this end was the perfect drift to go all the way through. You need to have this wheel pretty much down all the way to take the pressure off. So when you get halfway, it doesn't sit on the shock, the lower shock joint. So it probably took me an 1.5 hours longer than I was hoping, purely because of that bottom pin. But all's well that ends well. One thing I don't like, this Daytona 1200 didn't come with a center stand. Someone's put one on. The frame would have had the lugs for it and stuff. It's probably off a trophy or an aftermarket, I don't know which. But I noticed this spring here on the left hand side fouls the suspension linkage. And I have to say, I'm not mad on it. Overall, in the overall scheme of things, the forces, it'll be fairly minor, but yeah, I don't like it. So I'm gonna have to try and reroute this, turn it somehow or bend it somehow, or I want it to clear this. It doesn't touch it the other end, so it's quite different the other end. I'm not sure why, but I'll sort that out anyway. If not, I'm going to take the whole thing off and sell it. Oh God, I needn't have been so dramatic. I just bent the spring out of the way. Grease nipple, can you see it at the back there? Just there. For this front pivot. So I'll open that up and give that a grease. It's not the smoothest. It's, well, yeah. I'm not going to open it up. Just a bit of grease, that'll be fine. So, I was interested in this old shock. See the 182 is the length at the moment. Now that's with max preload. But just take that off. Little 10 mil. The preload's still working fine. I can hear that spring going. Now it's got a bit loose there. 80%. So I reckon this is maybe sticking a little bit. Let's see what that gave me, if anything. It has given me something. 150. 185, so a bit longer. I think if I lubed this collar up in a bit of WD-40 and left it overnight, I'd get more movement on that preload, because the adjuster's got soft, as if the spring's not coming back any further. So, trying to see what's moving here. I can feel. Which bit's moving? Well, I know obviously the spring is, but is it this collar under here? So let's have a look at that before and after. It's back right off again. There'll be nothing wrong with the spring, as in its designed weight. Okay, let's move back in a bit. So it's adjusting under here, but I think that could do with soaking WD-40 something. I think to get the full range of preload movement back on that. The damping mechanism. It's under there. Yeah, that's working. The mechanical mechanism's working, but who knows what it's doing inside the tube though, whether there's actually any real damping going on. Frankly, unlikely. So whether this shot can be rebuilt or not, I mean there is a collar here. So a good suspension shop might be able to rebuild that. What would it cost you? Maybe 200 euros? If they can do it. So it could be worth salvaging. But I'm taking the easy option and just swapping it out. There is a significant weight difference. But I don't have any scales here, but yeah, significant weight difference. Obviously the Wilbers is fully rebuildable. This kind of looks permanent, doesn't it? Kind of spot weld type stuff. Possibly something could be do with that top end, not sure. Anyway, I needed the new spring rate, so even if that was rebuilt, it'd still be no good for me. So that's the top shock bolt. Fits exactly, obviously, because I ordered it for this bike. And the rear ends, perfect match. So that's a bolt straight on. And the distances between centres, I haven't measured them, but I can see by eye they're spot on. So just a slightly shorter spring then. Interesting. So that pin looks worse than it is. Bit of fine emery. I know a lot of people would replace that, but you can see the wear marks, but you know, it's not disastrous. That's only got 31,000 miles on it, which is nothing really. That lip I can feel, it's not metal, it's just shite. So, yeah. Cool. More money saved. Now, because I've been getting a bit of emery cloth on here, I'll have just introduced some garbage into the grease. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of all the grease inside. I'll push a plug of toilet paper down or something and replace it all. So what you might do with this before you put it back in is pre-pack it because you'll be forever and a day with a grease gun filling that back up. So cool. Just need to get into those holes. Something to poke those with. This cable tie will do. As I say, I'll slug that full of grease before I go to refit that. Cool. All done. All right then, I'll get rid of that grease too in the cap, just because it's old. Not that there'll be anything wrong with it. Done. All right, in the immortal words of a Hayes manual, refitting is the reverse of taking it off. So I'll have to get this back wheel under my knee again. With Wilbers, they state that this caution sticker here should face the front. So the caution sticker should face the front. Not sure why, but so. All right. Come on, knee, do your stuff. That's it. Now if I hold this, if I have the top mounting nut handy, I can hang it once I get it up there. Yeah, easy, that went easy. Just got to line it up. Perfect. Very handy. So I've got that mounted at the top there. With that battery box out, it looks like, yeah, I'm going to have great access to those preload adjusters. So doing my sag's going to be easy done. That's great. So I just put a little bit of fresh grease in these lower pivots and the bottom of the shock. And as I said, I'll pre-fill the tube. Before you start sticking the pin in, what you can do is just start lining it all up. And you can just see, like I know, is my shock. My shock's a bit high, so I know I need to lift this wheel about another millimetre or two, just to get that whole linkage a tiny bit higher for that shock, so I'm not forcing it. Perfect, just a little extra wedge. That's nicely lined up now. Apart from that leg at the back there. So it's a little hard to get that lined up, but a few wedges under that back wheel, just adjusting it up and down till I can get all the linkages and the new rear shock lined up to take this pin. And it's actually going in quite smoothly, quite easily. Lovely. Yeah, once it's lined up, it all went in nicely. Just be careful again, as I say, of bashing into your needle bearings. Don't go mad. If you feel any resistance, stop. You see as well, I just loosened off the exhaust clamp as well, just to give me some more access. That was when I was taking it off. So all that leaves me to do is put the end nuts back on, get those back on, tightened up, and then nip up these clamps here. So I better go away and find the torque settings for those. When I've done that then, I'll just expel any air. I must have got some air in there. I'll just re-grease the 5 greases on the suspension system. One either side here, one above them, and the one I showed you earlier buried away at the front of this linkage. Excellent. Time to put stuff back together. Is 85. You'll have to hold it the other end though, because you'll just spin otherwise. Of course you'll fall off as soon as I touch you. Gotcha. Right, so they're done up 85 Newton meters, but of course they're just pinching either side of the shaft. So these pinch bolts are important. They're only 10 Newton meters. I'll do those by hand because I don't have a torque wrench that goes down to 10, and I'll have a feel for it anyway. So just the pinch bolts either side. You can see them closing in. These are only 10 Newton meters. No need to go balmy on them. That'll be enough. And I'll just do the other side. Right, the rest is straightforward. So I just have to put my bracket back, my battery box, and the bodywork. But what I'll do is I'll leave the bodywork off, I'll leave the battery box out, and I'll just have the seat. And because they don't weigh too much, those few items, I'll do my sag front and rear without them. And then when that's done, I'll just put the gubbins here back in. So that's the end of this video. No point in showing just putting that stuff back on. So my next one will be looking at sag and what I'm going to do about the damping settings. Oh, well, I couldn't finish off without having a little feel. Oh, wow. Oh, instant difference. You can just tell I have not moved an inch. That is plush, but I know, oh, there's so much less sag. This is going to be great. It's going to be great. This bike, it's a total different feel. Obviously I don't know what sag I'm using with that preload setting as it is, but that's my next job.